So, advising or asking for advice. What does that mean? You want to advise someone, you want to tell them something or suggest them to do something which you think is appropriate. Now, sentences like these could be used on occasions where you're actually either asking for advice, that means you're asking someone what to do, or you're telling them to do something. Correct? So, let's begin. Now, our motive should be to focus on the sound. We can think of idea units as units that can be slotted somewhere. Yeah, they can fit into any sentence. We'll focus on that also, and we'll also focus on how these sounds merge together. So unnecessary details have to be dropped. So what we are going to focus is, we are going to focus on the shape of sound rather than pronouncing each word very clearly, because it's not required. Look at these examples and I'll show you how exactly to proceed with it. Now the sentence says, I think you should go ahead. Now you have to imagine a scenario. Where would you say that? Asking for advice or advising someone. You're advising, you should go ahead. Okay, let's say you are in the office where you work, and you're making a presentation, and your colleague asks for your advice that, do you think this presentation is appropriate? Should I go ahead? Should go ahead. So that person will ask you, should I go ahead with it? With something. In the response you can say, I think you should go ahead. Right? I think you should go ahead. That means you can proceed with something or move forward with something. These are basic idea units. So how are we gonna say it? I think we're going to drop the unnecessary I, and we're just gonna call it I think. I think you should. Okay, no need to say should. I think you should. I think you should go ahead. So you can also drop this because the shape is clear with the sound shoo. I think you should go ahead and make that presentation and make the presentation. Or I think you should go ahead and sign up for the job. Whatever you're advising on, that depends what comes after. It depends on what you're asking, advising for. So it depends on that. Whatever comes after is dependent on that. I suggest. Now, because there are two hard sounds, one after the other, this T and this T, You only need to pronounce one T. In that case, you're gonna say, I suggest that, where you just said suggest. That's all you said. You did not say T. I suggest that because that has the sound in it. I suggest that you that you this t is not really emphasized upon. I suggest that you can also make chew sound instead of tew sound. I suggest that you sign the that's easy to pronounce, so no need to drop anything. Sign the documents. This is also easy to pronounce because this is a soft sound, this is a hard sound. They join together. The documents. The documents first. So, are you pronouncing t in here? Documents first? No, because it's causing unnecessary trouble. We have to say documents first. Instead of saying documents first, we can just say documents first. Drop the T altogether. It's just a trick how generally pronunciations that when the native speakers of English language speak, they generally drop these unnecessary sounds. Let's take another example. Again, instead of saying I believe, which you can very well say, I'm not saying you shouldn't say it. I'm saying you can also say it something like this. I believe. I believe you. You shouldn't. Did I say shouldn't or shouldn't? No, I say shouldn't. I believe you shouldn't delay. Shouldn't delay. What is this? Two hard sounds one after the other. I believe you shouldn't delay it. Shouldn't delay it. Shouldn't. A small gap. Shouldn't delay it. Lay it. Easy to say. It any further. It any fur. I believe you shouldn't delay it any further. Again, a r sound is dropped. What do you think of this plan? What do you think of this plan? I'm not even saying of this plan. I'm saying of this plan. So you don't have to make it so obvious that you're pausing in between. That is, you're trying to change your speech patterns. That's not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to be as natural as possible so that this word flows very easily into this one, and this one flows easily into this one, and this one flows into this one, without making artificial sounds and also getting rid of unnecessary details in sounds. What do you think of this plan? What do you think of this plan? What do you think of this plan? Try to be as natural as possible. Do you think it's feasible? That's simple. Do you? Do you? You think it's do you think it's feasible? Do you think it's feasible? Can I drop T here? I think I can. Do you think it's feasible? So if instead of saying it's, what if we left this t blank? Do you think it's feasible? So it's not that we are thinking that this T will in fact go away. All we are saying is that instead of this, we'll just pronounce a small blank. Do you think is feasible? Next one. Do you have? That's very simple to say. Do you have? Have any? Have any? You can say that, or you can say have any. Something like this. Ha. V. Ni. Have any. You put a space in between because you're not really saying this and this. I'm spelling it out according to the phonetic alphabet, you must have noticed. I'm not writing the actual spelling, I'm writing the sounds, or at least trying to write the sounds. Do you have any? Do you have any donuts left? Do you have any shirts? Do you have any change? Idea units can be slotted anywhere. Here we are asking for advice. So I'm asking, do you have any suggestions? Meaning, do you want to add something, or do you want to remove something? Do you want to edit something? Do you have any suggestions regarding? Suggestions regarding. Regarding. It's not difficult. It's regarding. So this naturally flows into this word. Suggestions flows automatically into R sound. S and R sound can go together. So in here, if we manipulate the shape a little bit, if we drop something out, the shape of suggestions would not be very, very clear. The shape of sound of suggestions, that is. So in that case, you don't really need to drop anything because it naturally flows into the word regarding. Do you have any suggestions regarding? Regarding what? My work, maybe? This document? Let's say you have given someone to check your CV or resume. Do you have any suggestions regarding my CV? Should I edit something? Right? Again, you can slot this anywhere you want. Depends on what you want to say after this. So these opening sentences make a lot of sense if you have them ready, if you have practiced them a lot. Then they'll just come out of your mouth without any effort. Right? Because the biggest effort a person has to take in order to start a sentence. This is very problematic for those people who are the speakers of foreign language. And that is why I'm saying think of them as idea units. Now here we are changing that the tone a little bit. We're saying if you were to take my advice, if you were, again, I'm not saying were, I'm simply saying if you were. If you, or instead of that, I can simply say if you were to take my advice, to take my advice. Do you think you can say my advice? You can. You can drop this sound. So we will. If you were to take my advice, instead of then, I can just simply put a comma. That means there is a slight pause here, and you can pause in between here also. So if I were to, let's say this sentence, and I'm actually saying it to another person, like for real, I can also take a lot of breaks in between. Something like, well, what do you think of this plan, this particular plan that I have? What do you think of this plan? See, but the problem is, if you say something like this, what what do you think of this plan? Even then, but if you are breaking unnaturally, then it's not very nice. I mean, people will still understand you. So that is why, even if you have this idea unit, I don't think you need to be very quick to say this. As long as you know what you're saying. What do you think of this plan? Oh, this plan. So you don't have to pronounce it, like you don't have to practice it like that. But you should understand that think of just moves very naturally from think or this. Think or this. So you're thinking like this. Think or this. Think of this. Plan. Plan. Easy to say. Think of this plan. So when you speak to another person, you can take as many gaps as you want. And when you are uttering one idea unit, it's very easy. If one gets into the habit of flow of words, it's very easy. Even if you take a lot of breaks, the idea units will just come out of you effortlessly, like this. Think of this plan. What do you think? You can simply also ask, instead of asking the whole question, what do you think? The other person asks you, well, what do you think of what? Of this plan. Then afterwards you can always say. So that's the idea. One has to be as natural and as easygoing as possible when you're talking to someone. If you were to take my advice, remember, my advice, I think you should. Again, I think you, or you think. I think that means that's what I'm trying to say. That's what it means. That's what I'm trying to say. I think you should. I wouldn't go there. I wouldn't. Well, what does it mean? Well, it's just a way of saying that if I were in your place, or if I were you, I wouldn't. That means that person, means you in this case, is putting yourself in the shoes or in the imaginary character of somebody else, and you telling them, if I were you, then I wouldn't do something like this. I wouldn't go there. Did I say wouldn't? No. I simply say wouldn't. I wouldn't go there. Or you can also say won't go there. Because it says wouldn't, that's why won't. Or you can also use won't. I wouldn't go there if I were you. I wouldn't do this if I were you. I wouldn't trespass. Let's say you're walking and you come across a piece of land which says, some land which has a boundary, which has a signboard on it that this property belongs to XYZ, right? So don't trespass. I wouldn't trespass if I were you. I wouldn't delay this if I were you. Let's say you're an officer and you're advising your junior to hurry up. You can also say, I won't delay this anymore, right? Delay this anymore if I were you. I wouldn't ask questions if I were you, because sometimes people ask unnecessary questions. You're just advising them to not ask a lot of questions. I wouldn't ask questions, or I wouldn't ask these many questions if I were you. Or I wouldn't I wouldn't go there, wouldn't go there, wouldn't do this if I were you. This I, this if, yeah, this if flows naturally into each other. I wouldn't do this if I were you. I wouldn't trespass if, again, so E flows naturally. I wouldn't trespass if I were you. I wouldn't delay this if I were you. Again, if I were you. I wouldn't ask questions if I were you. I wouldn't ask so many questions if I were you. I wouldn't ask so many unnecessary questions if I were you. Take a mental note of these idea units. Repeat them as much as possible. More you work on small idea units, easier your speech patterns become, more comfortable you become while speaking. And it's the comfort that we are after. We are not after impressing people with our speed of speech. Okay. Next sentence. Will you help me out? Help me out. Okay. They're flowing naturally into each other. Practice it. Will you help me out? It's a common expression. Will you help me out a little bit? So if you're asking for some kind of suggestion, because that's the category we are at, asking for advice, asking for a suggestion. Will you help me out? I need some advice. Some advice. Again, medvice, some advice. I'm not saying some advice. I'm not pronouncing the same sound twice, two times. I'm not doing that. I'm not saying some advice. No, no need to do that. Some advice. Makes sense? Will you help me out? I need some advice. I need some suggestion. Some suggestion. More suggestion. Some suggestion. Or I need a suggestion. That makes more sense. Or I need some suggestions. They also flow naturally into each other. Will you help me out? I need some guidance. Some guidance. Some guidance. Also flows naturally. So there are going to be instances, there are going to be places where two words are next to each other which automatically flow into one another. Sometimes we'll need to drop some sounds to make them flow naturally into one another. Next sentence. You seem like the right person to get. You seem like, that means you're saying that person looks like the right person to get counsel, advice, suggestion, opinion. Now if you don't know the word counsel, you already know the word counselor, so that every office has a counselor. Sometimes advocates or lawyers are also called as counselors. That means to give someone who gives someone an advice. That's a counselor. So to counsel means to give advice. You seem like the right person to get counsel from. So you seem like the right person to get from, to get something from. In this case, an advice from. You seem like the right person to get counsel from. You seem like the right person to get advice from. Get advice. Get advice. Right? Flows naturally. Get advice from. Get suggestion from. Get opinion. Get opinion from. You seem like the right person to get counsel from. You seem like, now here I'm not even pronouncing you that much. Just saying you. You seem like the right person to get advice from. You seem like the right person to get a suggestion from. A suggestion from. You seem like the right person to get an opinion. An opinion from. Let's look at next sentence. This is only my opinion. This is only my opinion. Correct? My opinion. This is only my opinion. But you don't have to trust everything I say. Right? So the person is actually trying to say that this is merely my opinion. Okay? Merely. This is just an opinion. Merely or just. Yeah. This is merely my opinion, or this is only my opinion. But you don't. But you don't. See, I dropped here. But you don't. I can also say that. But you don't. I can also say that. But you don't have to. Don't. T goes again. But you don't have to. To trust. That flows naturally. You don't have to trust. Trust everything. Everything. Yeah? That also flows naturally into each other. Trust everything. Trust everything I say. I say. I say. This is only my opinion, but you don't have to trust everything I say. You see? So the idea is to recognize these patterns. That's all. You can say every single word out aloud. That's all right. It's you develop your own personal style. We should also be aware of the fact that the words flow into each other, and sometimes certain sounds are dropped. That's what we are trying to show here, and that will make for a much more comfortable speech pattern. So practice as much as you can and work on individual idea units.